Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink, it's time for some Path of Exile discussion. One question that gets asked a lot by players is how do you afford new upgrades? How do you get yourself more and more currency in order to afford various endgame upgrades or to afford various crafting projects that you may have? And whilst there's a lot of answers to this, one of the most important ones is that you probably already have it and just don't recognize it. I want to go through the spots that you have more currency than you may realize in Path of Exile at the moment. So firstly, I'd like to invite you to have a quick look at this currency tab and ask yourself how much total wealth do you think I have in the current league? So you'll see there's about 14 exalts between exalts and exalt shards. There's about 13 exalts worth of chaos orbs. There's a bunch of extra exalts hiding in these awakened sextants and stack decks. But then there's a lot of other stuff that's not worth all that much. You might be thinking, oh yeah, you probably got like 45 exalts or so in total. 13 here, another 13 or so here, and then just a whole bunch of little gumballs. Actually, you'd be missing more than 100. And I want to go through where that is now. Firstly, you want to check your Fragment tab. Fragments are something where you can easily have a lot more wealth than you think. Not so much the Maven section, but the Eldritch section, you will have invitations to the main bosses. The lesser bosses, these writhing invitations to the Infinite Hunger, aren't worth very much. But the Screaming invitations are. Likewise, on the other side, you have the invitations to fight the Searing Exarch. They're worth more than an exalt as well, and those things really add up if you've got a few of them. In terms of general fragments, boss fragments definitely add up. What I do have is a few of the Sirus fragments, a whole bunch of Elder fragments, these things add up, and a couple of the Uber Elder fragments. As well as that, 3 Gift to the Goddess and 2 Sacred Blossoms from when I was doing all of my harvests this league. That stuff definitely adds up. Breach, I don't have all that much, but you might. Ulnatol's Prior Breachstone is a little bit. 4 regular Ulnatol Breachstones, in fact 4 hidden sets. That stuff adds up, but it's not a staggering amount. The big thing is if you've been doing a bunch of Chayula breaches, or if you've been running the hidden a lot, and you've got some flawless Breachstones, all of that can really add up. However, it's the Scarabs that are the big one with the Fragment tab. Divination Scarabs, and also Expedition Scarabs being the biggest, but you may also find that you've got a bunch of wealth in other Scarabs as well. Broadly speaking with Scarabs, you want to sell these things in bulk. You want to sell them for more than the regular price is. You want to be the person that someone comes to because they want to buy 25 Scarabs in one transaction, and they're quite happy to spend 1 extra chaos per Scarab, or even 2 extra chaos per Scarab, in order just to get it done all at once. Divination cards are the next spot you may have some wealth hiding. Now, I don't have very much in here this league. I've got a bit. There's a few things that will add up, stuff like Ambitious Obsession, just 1 copy of that card, that's a few chaos. There's a number of other things in here that will be in the 10 chaos or so range, but there's nothing absolutely amazing. The reason I know that is because I check using the third-party program Excellence. Excellence Next will parse all of your stash tabs for you, and it will point out anything that you've got that you may have forgotten about that's expensive. Now, the one thing it pointed out for me that I had completely forgotten that I owned was a Melding of the Flesh. So that's something that's a few exalts. You may not have exactly that item, but you'll probably have something that's reasonably valuable hiding somewhere in one of your stash tabs. And if you've got one of them, it's more likely to be a divination card than anything else. Now, you also have your maps. It's not so much general maps, although you can sell those. The main thing you're going to want to look for here is your boss maps and your unique maps. Unique maps, you're mostly looking for synthesis maps and for the Coward's Trial. And for the boss maps, you're mostly looking for these Conqueror maps. However, the other ones can be worth something as well. The next spots you want to check are your essences and your fossil tab. Fossil tab, if you've been doing any real delving, it's the resonators that are the thing that add up a lot, especially once you start selling them in bulk. Essences, again, you want to sell these in bulk. I've removed 30 Deafening Essences of Loathing recently, which I've listed. I'm not listing them cheaply. I'm not going to try to undercut everyone else. I'm going to put them as a lot of 30 that I'm going to charge a premium price for because someone is going to be trying to do a specific craft and they're going to want 30 of them at once, and they're going to have the wealth to come to me rather than go to a bunch of individuals that are selling 1 or 2 of them each. However, even if you haven't been focusing that much on essences, it is worth checking this tab. You'll probably have some wealth in it, especially down here. These things really do add up, as do the Loathing essences. They're the most expensive in this league. But then you've got your 58 stat essences, you've got your tier 1 elemental damage with attacks essences. There's a lot of different ones that are in some demand currently. Okay, so that is your stash. You may also have some stuff in your Delirium tab, especially if you've been running currency heists. And also you may have a bunch of maps here that are already delirious. They can add up. You may have some stuff in your Metamorph or Blight tabs, I certainly don't, but they're still worth having a quick look at. The other spot that you want to check though is not your stash. It's your Expedition Locker first, and here you'll see I don't have much in the way of Astragalis because I've been using them. I have used a bunch of exotic coinages, but I still have a lot of them, and these are worth something. I have a bunch of Rogues currency, these aren't worth very much at all, and I got the Burial Medallions. Then I have all these logbooks. I have sorted these. The first ones, the bottom tier, are the ones that are only Order of the Chalice. So they form a bottom tier, they're still worth having, they're still worth running if you want to run them, but they're the cheapest. Next you have the ones that have the option to be Druids of the Broken Circle, but that do not have the option to be Black Scythe Mercenaries or Knights of the Sun. These will drop a lot of Astragalis when they're run. Next you have the ones that are for Tujen. These will drop a lot of exotic coinages, and these have the option to be Black Scythe Mercenaries, but they do not also have the option to be Knights of the Sun. And then you have the Knights of the Sun ones. Anything that's got the option to be Knights of the Sun is a premium logbook, and you may actually wish to look into beast splitting these ones before running them, or alternately you can sell them unsplit, and someone that is running a lot of Expedition may end up purchasing them from you, and then purchasing split beast from another player. All told here, we have a lot of wealth actually, maybe 7 or 8 exalts in this tab, as well as the option to go and engage more with Expedition if I want to do so. Nextly, you're going to want to check your Heist Locker. Heist will have a bunch of wealth in it. Repository blueprints are unusual gems, as are tunnels. These things are worth quite a bit. These are like 3 or 4 to the exalt. Next is Prohibited Library and Laboratory, and I've got a lot more of those. I've got 12 of them between them. These are the ones for replicas and experimented items. These are worth quite a bit. Next, you got your Rogue Markers. These things tend to go somewhere around 220 markers per Chaos Orb. So 120,000 of them there, that's something like 3 exalts worth. Finally, you want to check your contracts. Now with contracts, there are 3 types that can be worth a little bit more than the rest. Firstly, you want to go for Deception. Now I've done the counting on these, there are 33 of them. These tend to be about 13 or 14 to the Exalted Orb, so that's about 2.5 exalts worth there. Then you have Lockpicking. These ones, 1, 2, 3, 7, 13, 20 something there, lockpicking ones. These ones tend to be about 30 to the exalt, although they do tend to vary a bit. And then you have the other one that's worth checking out, Perception. Perception is not really rated all that highly by players. They are definitely worth running. The reason that they're worth running is that they can often be run. If their requirement is low enough, they can often be run by Gianna, and as a result, they can have a lot of the benefits of a Deception contract in that they can then give you a discount unveil. So you will sometimes find people buying bulk Perception contracts for a little bit more. As for everything that's not picked up by one of these, those are a lot harder to sell. I would just generally sell them in bulk, just for 1 chaos each, the other contracts that are there. So that is where you probably have more wealth than you think you do. Your currency tab will be the one that has a plurality of your wealth, but it will not be a majority. The rest of it will be found in the Fragment tab, the Essence tab, the Fossil tab, sometimes the Divination card tab, and the Expedition Locker and the Heist Locker. One last thing you want to check also is your Sentinel Locker, mostly because transforming power cores are getting more expensive at the moment, so do keep an eye out for those. A lot of people want these for challenges, and as a result, they'll be buying quite a few of them, and they do seem to be going up in price. That's all I've got. Me or Valorbs have interesting results.